Hello everyone and welcome to another edition of Tech Talks. I'm Martin Fullard and today I'm joined by Tamsin Treasure-Jones, co-founder of Kubify, the creators of Learning Toolbox. How are you, Tamsin?
I'm good, thank you very much, Martin.
Good stuff. Now, before we kind of dive into the meat of what we're talking about today, I thought I'd just ask you for a little bit of a background explanation of your experience and history within the events world. Tell us about yourself.
Oh, okay. So, well, in fact, 3 years ago, I was one of the co-founders who set up Kubify. But prior to that, I had been working for about 20 years in universities as a researcher and project manager and, in fact, event organizer within universities. So within the events industry, my experience has been very much as a delegate to a very large number of conferences and a presenter at conferences, and ultimately as the academic organizer of conferences as well, until, as I'll explain in my little section later, I have left that world because we spotted an area in which we wanted to really improve how research was presented at conferences, and that's when I left to set up Kubify.
Sounds good. So let's talk about Kubify's core product then, Learning Toolbox. Can you tell us a little bit about it? What are its key features?
Yeah, sure. So essentially what it does is it provides people with an easy way of creating a collection of rich material to present their work or research at conferences and actually beyond the conference as well. And we started by looking at what we called the paper poster problem. So, you know, the conferences where they have poster sessions with huge numbers of these large printed paper posters, the researchers stand at the poster and present their work to people. And as researchers ourselves, we thought this is a really ineffective way of presenting your work. I mean, you have much more engaging material that you can share with people. You have much more depth that you want to tell them about your work as well. And of course, that paper poster also only lasted for the length of time of the conference and then was rolled up and put in a tube and lived in an archive cupboard. So it really didn't seem to be an effective way of presenting your work. And people had started moving towards e-posters, but what we'd seen was that e-posters, the traditional e-poster things, took the PDF file of that paper poster and put it online and said, okay, now you have an e-poster. Well, essentially, it's the same thing. It's still that paper poster. And when we thought we can do much better than this, and we wanted to take advantage of actually going digital, take full advantage of it. So in our case, Learning Toolbox allows the author to create what we call an e-poster, but most people wouldn't recognize it as an e-poster. It's a collection of materials that people put together to present their work. So of course, some people will put in a PowerPoint presentation or a PDF of that paper poster, but they're really likely to also add in a video to introduce themselves. They may well add in links to their professional websites like ResearchGate or LinkedIn. They may add background material, really help you understand their work by including the guidelines that they used or the survey that they did with their research participants. And some of the really interactive stuff we've seen, you know, people who actually made 360-degree videos or 3D animations or clickable prototypes, they're in the e-poster and you can actually engage with their research and try it out inside the e-poster. So much richer indeed. And then also each of these e-posters has its own discussion channel. So people can post comments and questions on them and they're answered. And that discussion actually becomes a component core part of the e-poster. So whenever you look at the e-poster, you can also see what people have discussed around that topic. And another area we wanted to do was when you go to a conference, you learn from the discussions. So why make the e-poster fixed in time? If I've gone to the conference, I've presented my e-poster, and now I realize that actually I could have put some other material in there to help people, why not let me? So our e-posters are updatable. And whenever anyone looks at it, they're always looking at the latest version of it. And this also means that although these e-posters are all displayed on a showcase website for the conference, they each have their own unique website address, and the author can actually, after the conference, can direct people just to their e-poster, so they can use their e-poster after the conference as well. So those are all the real benefits there for the authors and the delegates in terms of the material that's shared. For the organisers themselves, what they get is Learning Toolbox gives them this really clear interface where they can see how people are developing their e-posters, and the organiser chooses when to publish them. And they get published to this branded, searchable showcase with all of the e-posters on it. And that showcase can actually even be embedded within your virtual conference platform or your association website. And year on year, as your conference uses this platform, it builds up this really rich library of content with all of these e-posters from the conferences in it. And we have analytics, so the organisers can see how people are engaging with the e-posters and when, and that includes both in the conference and also the engagement after the conference. And again, our analytics shows, this was one of our, what we expected, and delightfully, the analytics shows it. People come back to these e-posters regularly after the conference. And we've seen instances where you get a certain number of views of the e-posters during the conference. A year later, that number of views has doubled. So you've had as many views after the conference as you've actually had during the conference. So in sort of summary, what we do, as I said, really rich way of sharing a collection of material to present your work, and actually letting people engage with it fully.
That's fascinating. That's really interesting. I think when I first joined Conference News back in 2016, I think it was, that was one of my first jobs. I went to a well-known venue that was hosting an event in the middle of hosting some sort of association congress, and I got shown the poster room. I'd never heard of a poster room before. I was amazed. You walk in and it wasn't just rows of things. There were all these massive boards on wheels, posters just everywhere. It was a maze of them, and it was very analog. I mean, I guess that's still just the way of it. So, you know, in a sentence or two, then, who really is this for? Is it for, I assume, you know, academics or association specialists, you know, the speakers who aren't necessarily event people, but is it also for the event organisers as well as an extra tool?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, the type of event at which this would be used is essentially your academic or scientific association conference. And the customer is the organizer. Now, the organizer might be the scientific association, but actually it's also very likely to be your professional conference organizing company as well that's taken on running the conference for them. So they are the end user who buys the platform and gets to set up the e-poster event in there. But of course, our other users are the authors and delegates who actually take part in that conference. So when we designed the platform, we designed it with all of those people in mind.
Fantastic. So what then kind of stands the Learning Toolbox apart from, you know, its competitors on the marketplace? What's the USP?
Yeah, so I think, I mean, if I was going to sum up the USP in 3 words, I guess it would be that it enables creativity, freedom, and insight. And the creativity and the freedom are because rather than the poster or the presentation being one file that you've put together to present your work, in fact, it's this much richer collection of multimedia and interactive material. And I mean, some of the things I've seen our authors make with the e-posters are wonderful. And it goes as far as, when I say interactive, it goes as far as the authors can actually allow the delegates to add new material to the e-poster as well. So we've seen people create e-posters where they've asked people to add in extra material about parts of research they might have missed, or research that other delegates are doing that's relevant to their research. We've even seen people who have used the e-poster as a way of gathering new research data. So really rich interactive collections, and then the fact that it is portable and usable outside the conference as well. So it's not stuck in the conference and only accessible during the conference. Each e-poster is its own entity which can be used beyond it. And that life beyond the conference and the analytics that we have of that show that this is really valuable.
Yeah, that's absolutely sort of, dare I say, I hate the expression sort of on brand, but I mean, that's really where the events industry is now. It's not about the 1 or 2 day event, conference, exhibition, whatever. It's about sustaining that message, that 365 day a year engagement with your audiences. So that actually, rings quite, resonates really for where we are right now. So I'm sure you'll tell us in a moment how people can get in touch with you and to learn a little bit more, particularly when it comes to delving into how the costing works. But can you give us a sort of overview of how the pricing structure works for this?
Yeah, sure. So the pricing is a license. So the event organizer would buy a license to use the platform for the event. And the price of that license will depend on how many new e-posters they're going to create. The license lasts for a year, and so the e-posters are all hosted on the platform on their showcase website for that year. But if they renew, then in fact we continue to host the previous year's e-posters, and they just pay for the new ones that they're going to add. So this is how they build up this library of content. Now, the platform has on it all the sort of support that you would expect, like a demo video, written guides, frequently asked questions, and that's both for the authors, the administrators, and the delegates. There's dedicated support in the platform. But if people want, then we can also give them additional support. So we've done train the team, where we would train primary professional conference organisers so that they fully understand the platform and can use it for multiple conferences. And we've also done full support, where an association says, you know what, the moment we know our authors, you take it from there and do all of the support for the authors and everything. So we're quite flexible around that, but we've had people who have just paid for the license, and with the built-in material, they're absolutely fine using it.
Good stuff. So how can people get in touch to learn more?
Okay, well, our email address is info@kubify.co, and our website address is kubify.co. So just go to either of those.
And we will make sure we drop the link to that website in the description box on this video. Tamsin, thank you so much for talking to us. We'll see you later.
Thank you very much, Martin. Bye.